Hello, good morning, and welcome to MOCHA Talk. Cheers! I'm Denise Bunning, and thanks to FAIR for creating this safe space for us to chit-chat about various monthly topics. As a former teacher, support group leader, and of course, food allergy mom, I'm thrilled that our first topic is back to school. Our first guest is Anita Roach, VP at FAIR for Voice of the Patient and Education. Take it away, Anita.
Thanks, Denise, and cheers to you as well. Hi, everyone. My name is Anita Roach. I'm the Vice President of Voice of the Patient and Education at FAIR. I've been at FAIR now for just over a year. And since being at FAIR, I have had a child who's developed food allergies. She's 20 months old and she has egg and peanut allergy. I also have a 3-month-old, so busy times at home with 2 toddlers.
Our next guest is Pam Epley, Associate Professor and Director at the Erickson Institute. Take it away, Pam.
Hi, I'm thrilled to be here. I have 16-year-old twins. They do not have food allergies, but professionally, I've spent the past 20 years or so working in special education, supporting children and families with an emphasis in partnering with teachers and professionals in order to provide kids the supports that they need to be successful in school. And I'm happy to contribute to this conversation.
Our next guest is Lisa Horn, founder of the blog Food Allergy PI. Take it away, Lisa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with this group of ladies today. So as you mentioned, I am the mom behind the blog Food Allergy PI, and I also have a clothing boutique and nail bar that I run out of my home while I homeschool all 5 of my kids. I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, and then I also have a 12-year-old. My 12-year-old, his name is Stetson. He is my only one of the 5 kids that has food allergies, and he's the reason behind everything that I do food allergy related. He is anaphylactic to peanuts and shellfish. I started my food allergy volunteer journey in the community with FAIR back when it was FAN, as a FAN walk chair, and then from there, started a local nonprofit here in the state of Arizona. We did support, we did education, we had awareness endeavors, but I helped to write and pass a bill that was signed into law by Governor Brewer to put stock EpiPens in all the schools.
Fantastic. I'm so happy to be with this wonderful group of women. So I thought what we would do is get started on a couple of questions. So let's first talk about how being a mom and how that affects all things school related. So Anita, let's start with you.
Thank you, Denise. So for me, I am a working mom, as I mentioned, working in the house and now doing everything in the house in one place. And so during the current pandemic, it's been a challenge, working and also kind of being all things at one time, employee, mom, household caregiver. And so it's been a challenge. Thankfully, we have some good support here and are able to send our 2 toddlers off to a small home daycare. And so since we've been doing that in the past couple of weeks, it's really been a tremendous burden off of my shoulders. I have, as I said, 2 toddlers, and they are ready to go to preschool, especially the 3-year-old. And because of the current pandemic, we've actually put a pause on sending her to daycare to preschool. And so I do feel that extra burden of now having to be a teacher to her and not wanting her to fall behind on her education, her ABCs, her 1, 2, 3s. And so really looking to build that part back into our lives, that homeschool, preschooling, since she's not able to go right now.
Got it. So Pam, as a instructor of teachers and as a mom yourself, what are your thoughts in this?
Thank you for asking. I think being a mom consumes, and especially around schooling and education, consumes so much of our time and energy, and we have to balance that with all those other roles that we have. But in particular, as a professor, what I talk to my students about is just being a mom and balancing those roles is incredibly difficult for everybody. And then take that level and add to it food allergies or learning difficulties or other health impairments or anything extra on top of that, and it just, it just exponentially increases the mental capacity, the cognitive capacity, the time capacity, and everything that it takes to really watch out for your children and make sure that they have what they need. And so I think it's something that we could all relate to, but families that have those extra challenges get a lot more in terms of what's on their plates.
Couldn't agree more. Lisa, would you like to chime in with your thoughts?
It's kind of interesting. So because we already homeschooled, really not much changed for us in that regard. However, I will say that being a food allergy mom kind of helped prepare me in a way for this. Not saying that it's been easy, but some of those kind of coping mechanisms that a food allergy mom uses to manage her family and her child with food allergies, I've also been able to transition a little bit into handling this pandemic. And again, like Pam was saying, it definitely, you kind of have added layers of stress and things that you're dealing with. But at the same time, I'm kind of grateful for those tools that I already had in my tool belt, if you will, that have helped me to transition into this pandemic. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And I think to your point and to all of our points, it's, we're not just a mom, we are a support group leader or a professor or a business owner or a vice president, and we're juggling all of it the best we can. And these are strange times when we're Zooming and trying to be everything for everybody and trying to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves as well. In terms of, I'm just going to jump in with how do you think for, some of us are homeschooling and some of us are sending kids to school, or maybe they might be doing school online. How do we help teachers to feel appreciated during these challenging times? And I think maybe this time I'm going to start with you, Pam. What do you think?
I really appreciate that question because I think that my underlying belief is that teachers are amazing and do such hard work and have their best, their heart is always in the right place. And at the same time, often what we hear are complaints that things aren't going well in school, or the teachers, the professionals aren't doing enough. And so I think it is important to recognize what they do. I think deepest, most fundamental belief is in the power of partnerships between parents and teachers. And teachers come to the beginning of the school year, I think, wanting to partner with parents, wanting to be engaged. It's part of their job. They want to do that. And so I think the extent to which parents can enter that relationship in an open way, expressing appreciation verbally, non-verbally, even in the smallest ways, I think is communicates to teachers that parents are there and they want to be in this relationship together. And that is so incredibly powerful.
So Anita, would you like to chime in with how fair, their perspective, and you personally too, on how we feel we can support our teachers?
Yeah, thank you. And I completely agree with what Pam said. And from the perspective of FAIR, we strongly believe in providing the resources and tools for all of the different stakeholders that a family that has a child with food allergy will need going into this school year. And so we've created an entire back to school headquarters with resources and tools and tips for not only the teachers, but the other school administrators, the school nurses, for allergists, and for other moms and dads that are in the classroom and their kids attend school with your child. It's really making sure that the teacher is supported by having the information and resources needed to understand your child's condition and really understand how they could be a supportive player, just as Pam said. And so you can find all of those resources at foodallergy.org/back to school. And it's just a wealth of resources for pre-K through college about going back to school and supporting teachers as you're doing that.
Fantastic. I know that, there's so many different things. The new website, it's not new anymore, but it's updated and it's just filled with fascinating and wonderful resources for so many people. So Lisa, with 5 kids at home, how are you? I mean, we should be thanking you because you're the teacher. So you're going to thank yourself?
Right. Well, I will say, and even though I do homeschool all 5 of my children, one of the things with homeschooling is that our curriculum doesn't take as long. You take out the, hey, Johnny, get your finger out of Susie's ear, and everybody line up. We're going to the bathroom break, and the class transitions, the behavioral issues, the lunch break, the recess, the busy work, all the other things. You take that out, and then you just have the curriculum. Your actual curriculum in the day doesn't take as long. And so we oftentimes finish school by around noon or 1 o'clock, and then we have extra time in our day. And because of that, my kids are, I have one daughter that plays the harp and the piano. I have my oldest son, Stetson, that has his peanut and shellfish allergy. He plays guitar and piano. My 7-year-old, she plays the violin and piano. They're all on swim team. So they're very involved and have lots of extracurricular activities to kind of take up that time. So while they don't have maybe like school teachers in their life, they have lots of coaches and other teachers, like the harp teacher and things like that. And so I guess I would say to that, and I think it could really translate into whether it be public school or charter school or private school, is to assume innocence and give grace. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we can do with our teachers right now, or our coaches, or I mean, really anybody, really like anybody right now that's living through this pandemic. And then in addition to food allergies, is to assume innocence and give grace. And then if there's room to help educate or bring awareness in a kind and loving way during that, that's kind of what I would recommend.
Okay, I'm going to give a cheers to the grace. Everybody give a cheers to the grace. Definitely, definitely. So, all right. So on to the next topic here. I think that there are so many points of view from teachers, parents, and students. In terms of your thoughts on right now, I guess what I want to hear from is there something you think that, you could go as high reaching globally, or you could go down to the details? So let's start with you, Lisa. Sorry you just went, but I'm just going to pick on you again. And what do you think about that?
I would say, sorry, I had to completely leave the kitchen area. I was having a meltdown. Is kind of going back to what I mentioned a second ago with giving grace and assuming innocence. I think we also, as parents, whether you have decided to homeschool or you have always homeschooled, I know there's a lot of my friends and neighbors and associates that I work with that they are doing the distance learning, and that, in my opinion, is even harder than homeschooling. In this world, I think especially with social media, and all the reality TV shows and all the things like that, is sometimes we can be really critical and hard on ourselves. And I think giving yourself grace and don't make perfect the evil of good. One of the other things that I have gained, I would say, as being a food allergy mom, is being able to have a plan and then being able to adapt to a situation and being flexible. So those are some things that we as food allergy parents deal with. You show up to a birthday party or a family function, and Aunt Joanne told you that XYZ would be on the menu, and then come to find out ABC is on the menu and it contains your allergen, and all of a sudden you have to be flexible and you have to show grace and you have to be able to adapt. And I think those same things can be implemented really in all facets of our life, like dealing with a pandemic or transitioning to distance learning or homeschooling and things like that.
I think those are some excellent suggestions. I'd like to go to you, Pam, because as a professor, you've got the perspective as a professor, so you're dealing with that, but then you're also the mom of 16-year-olds. So how are you handling, are they doing school online? So I'd love to hear your perceptions and perspective on as a professor, but also as a mom of 16-year-olds.
Thank you. Ours are doing school remotely, which is quite different than online learning. And I think particularly Erickson, as a graduate school, we do online learning for professionals, and that's a very different thing than trying to learn remotely from home. So they've been doing well. I think I'm grateful that they're 16 and they're more independent than a 20-month-old, 3-year-old, or second grader. And I think that for families that are going back to school, or when we all actually go back to school, I think one of the really important things to remember is that, if you are the mom of a child with food allergies or any other difference that makes them somewhat distinct, you are the expert in that. It's been part of your life. You know it in and out. And it's important to remember that that teacher doesn't. They don't know it in and out. So I think, teachers have the best intentions, but they can also sometimes, lack in their confidence to be able to deal with it. And so I think going back to what Lisa was saying about grace, that we as the parents are the educators to teachers, right? We need to let them know about our kids and what they need, and whether those are relatively minor needs related to remote learning, or whether they're really, really important needs that could be life or death. We have to own our knowledge and be comfortable sharing that with teachers.
Those are some excellent suggestions. Anita, with the little ones at home, how will you go? I mean, you've got so much on your plate, as we all do. How are you? What is your perspective on what we're doing right now?
For me, I've been trying to find some of the glimmers of positivity and hope, and the upsides of the current situation right now. With all of the negative aspects of it, there have been some positive things that have been able to happen in my life, and I know a lot of others. So the time when my children were home, even though it was really difficult, I did kind of enjoy just that extra time, cutting down on the commute, really being able to just have a little bit longer breakfast with the kids, or, go right to the park instead of having to commute after work. And so I tried to remind myself about that. And then when we did send them back to daycare, really just be thankful that I have the opportunity to have a trusted caregiver outside of the home to help me with that. And I think that it just re-embraced me being happy and thankful for the support that we do have, and understanding that not everyone has that. And when we didn't have it, it was really hard. So I think it keeps your perspective on the situations that other people are having to deal with permanently. It really helps to really ground you in that situation. And I think, thinking about what we were going through with the kids at home and working at home, and realizing that others, either at your work or in your community, may be dealing with the same thing. Even if they don't have children, they may have, older parents that they're taking care of while doing work and other responsibilities. So it's a difficult time for everyone, understanding that, knowing that certain situations are harder for others, and, really being able to, as Lisa said, give grace to yourself and to others in that situation. And then just finding the bit of rainbow when you can during this crazy time.
Oh, love that. Love that little bit of rainbow. That's my theme. I love rainbows. So in terms of all of us, and I love the fact that we're being truthful and open and honest about, we want to make sure that we are giving ourselves grace. We're giving ourselves one of a MOCHA phrase that we say all the time in our support group is kill them with kindness. We can kill them with kindness. We can do that for ourselves, and we can also do that to others. As you mentioned, Anita, so many people are in so many different situations, from going back to school, from, whether it's a baby, a preschool, elementary, junior high, high school, college, grad school, and even working remotely. And I think that not only giving ourselves the time to redirect what we need to do, we're all learning how to Zoom, and we're all learning how to connect in other ways. And having that be meaningful, I'm again thankful. I said this in the beginning. I'm so thankful for FAIR for trying to help others around the country connect in a meaningful way where they can get the information, that they can get the support, that they can feel that they are supported and not alone. And I think that, you know, back in when I started my support group, there, you know, I'm aging myself, but that's okay. You couldn't just Google it. You couldn't just get online. And now that opportunity to connect with others and say, how can I help you? There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. You have Lisa, if you want a question answered in terms of homeschooling, or Anita, we're going to come to you with, I'm looking for something on FAIR's website and I can't find it. Or Pam, in terms of how great is it that people can continue to do their graduate studies and you're adapting in that regard. So what I'd like to do now is open it up for the four of us. If there is something specific that you think that those of us that are watching this, you know, something specific that you would like to share, tell someone in reference to school in general. It's an open-ended question. I want to direct the question. And Pam, I'm going to start with you. So anything related to school that you would like to share with the audience, feel free.
That's a big order. Thank you. I think the first thing that comes to mind that I have learned through this pandemic is how much access this type of venue, web conferencing, has. And so we've learned, we've seen the silver linings in this. And one thing that I've seen with my students and with caregivers, child development professionals, is that this has video conferencing, Zoom, FaceTime, whatever, has opened up opportunities for caregivers and professionals to talk to parents more regularly, sometimes to talk to the parent that isn't able to actually come into the site or the school. And so it's opened up opportunities for more fathers oftentimes to get involved and be able to talk to the professionals that are caring for children, and just creates a line of communication that we didn't take advantage of before. And I think that in and of itself can build relationships and prevent problems in a way that can be incredibly effective. So I hope that this is something that we carry with us as we go back to more normal life, that we take advantage of these kinds of tools.
Oh my gosh, so fantastically said. Communication, collaboration. I mean, that's so fantastic, and it's so needed with all of us. Anita, I'd love to get your view from a FAIR perspective.
Absolutely. So, and really in line with what Pam said, we're here 24/7 on our website, on our social media, really to provide you with the resources you need. So we have great teams in education, research, grassroots advocacy, and others really dedicated to answering your questions, connecting you with support groups and support group leaders in your community. And just as Denise said, even virtually, there are tons of support groups opening virtually, having meetings regularly through Zoom, other platforms, and really allowing everyone, even if you hadn't been a part of a group in the past, to connect and to bond and to learn from each other and use each other as a resource. And so you can find all of this at foodallergy.org. Any information on the latest research, anything you're looking for, again, back to school, and having those resources readily available for your family, your community, your schools, and really providing them with the tools they need to care for your child and to support your child in their different relationships. So we have the resources you need. If you need help finding anything, just let us know and we'll be sure to get you with that resource.
Great. Okay, Lisa, any last tidbits?
Yeah, I would say, and I know there's a lot of families that haven't even started back to school yet. Although in the state of Arizona, most of the schools started at the end of July or at the beginning of August. We haven't started yet. We usually start after Labor Day. And so if someone hasn't started, or they're still looking for what works for their family because maybe the current situation is not working and they want to dive into homeschool, I would say to, again, remember to give yourself that grace, give others grace, find a great curriculum. There are lots of they refer to them as boxed curriculum. And that's what I use. There's several out there. And basically what it is you purchase like a 7th grade curriculum, for example, you get it and it comes with a teacher's manual and it literally tells you everything to do. It tells you what to say to the child. I mean, it's like step by step. This is what you do. This is what you say, so that you don't feel kind of thrown to the wolves. What do I do and how do I do this? So you can purchase those. They come already put together with the math and the science and the language arts and all the things. So find a really great curriculum if that is something that you are choosing to do and get into the homeschool world. And have a schedule, create a schedule for yourself where it is in focused time slots. So especially a lot of parents and families are working from home. I run a couple of online businesses from my home. And one of the best things that I've done for myself is I set aside time instead of trying to multitask, because if you try to continuously multitask, it's very draining and you get burnt out very quickly. So I give a set amount of time that I'm focusing on helping my kids with their school. And then I have a set amount of time that I'm focusing on my business, a set amount of time that I'm working on my household, things like that. And then I would say the only other thing that I would really add to that is being flexible, being open to change and adaptability, which again, any of our families that are watching this that have had food allergies, you know that that's kind of something that you always have to do, even with a food allergy. But as we move forward, and Pam mentioned, kind of finding our new normal, getting back to a sense of normalcy, is I think we always have to remember, and this goes for the pandemic as well as food allergies and even those combined, is to always kind of hold those two pillars of kind of like a temperature check, if you will, to make sure that we're on the right track: safety and inclusion. And you want to make sure that you're taking care of the whole self and the whole family and the whole child, right? You want to make sure that not only are they physically safe, and then also that they're included, but then also how are they mentally and emotionally? How are they handling all these things? How's mom and dad handling all these things? Have you taken time for self-care? And having that open communication with yourself, with your spouse or your significant other, with your children, with your teachers, and just kind of making sure that we're taking care of our whole selves.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't believe it, but we're actually out of time. On behalf of FAIR, I'd like to thank our guests for their insights and being willing to share their professional and personal expertise. Please join us next month for more chit chat on MOCHA Talk. And as always, stay safe.